And we're here. And you see Quince walking around. He was taking care of the dog for me. Hello, everybody. It is September 9th here on MMOBuff.TV. You are joining us at the Campfire. I am joined by the hostesses with the mostesses with the best sequin dresses you could ever find anywhere in the world. Screenager.
Hello.
Blank Space.
I'm back, baby.
Yeah, yes, you are. Makes me a happy girl. And joining us this week is Mizpah, the leader and member of Enigma Guild. EU, I stress.
Very, very EU, and hello. And I have to say, they're charming sequined miniskirts, both of you, and you really should show them on camera.
Yes. One of those things that we expect at some point. I'm still trying to convince Screenager to wear the dress you see on the mannequin behind him for Eurogamer. It's my goal this month. I figure since this is our 1-year anniversary here at MMOBuff.TV, if we can convince him, we've done it right. That's my opinion on it anyway.
I tell you what. I will wear a skirt to the Eurogamer after party. All right.
You will? Not an actual kilt, but a proper skirt.
I will wear a skirt.
Awesome.
Looking forward to it.
I'm very much so looking forward to it. But yes, so Blank Space, we've missed you.
Yeah, I was gone. Where did I go? I'm right here. Here I am.
You went to PAX.
Oh yes. Oh, PAX. PAX was a wonderful time. I had it often. Yes. Let's see. Press.
So did you pick that accent up off all the English people there?
All of them. All 2 of them. Yeah. PAX
Martin
was crazy
and
cool.
Yeah.
Haggis? It was kind of sad because there are usually games that I'm like really excited to see. At PAX, there was nothing where it was like, holy crap! Like I just get out of my way, knocking down children and women to get out. Like I want to see. There was nothing like that. It was more like we're here. There's some cool stuff. You kind of just walk. It was very slow paced and casual. It wasn't like some of the other games. Like wanting to be at like a WildStar booth or checking things out like that. So it was fun. I definitely got to explore more of the convention that I normally have, including up to like the cosplay room. Riot had a place for the cosplayers could like adjust their stuff and like hang out. One of my community managers had dressed up.
Riot could have their own Death Star for the amount of money they've got.
So, would that be a Death Star just for adjusting stuff?
Just adjusting stuff. Just adjusting things like this and covering them and stuff like that. But so that was pretty cool. Picked up the Cards Against Humanity. Couldn't find. There was a Viking game based on the show. Guess what? They sold out before I got there. I was like, if I see somebody with it, I'm gonna probably knock them down and steal it, just so you guys know. So, but that was a little bit of PAX. There were a lot of parties too, a lot of really cool parties, and quite a lot of swag that ended up coming home. Everything from and it's funny, like normally you get like your regular T-shirts and stuff, but I've got things like Legos. I've got stuff like condoms for against humanity. Like the marketing it's no longer just a swag bag. They've got more stuff that's cool that they're putting out there, which I think is really awesome.
The only thing I want to know is the expiration date on the condom. That's all I want to know about. Does it even have one?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, well that just pretty much says it right there. Don't use them, folks.
Well, I don't. Why not?
Expiration dates are important.
I have officially just completely boggled Blank Space.
I wanted to be appropriate as possible. It's a condom against humanity. Okay, so I'll tell you what I was doing there. It didn't get me in trouble, but it was pretty funny.
We can stop right there. We don't need to know. You can.
No, I'm not. No, not my relations. What I would do is if I found somebody to be particularly offensive or whatever, I'd just be like, "This is just for humanity." I'd just hand it to them.
Oh, now see, I can totally get behind that. There are. It's one of those things you always hear people say. Some people just should not procreate. You know,
That would
but-
do. It was like, here you go. Don't have kids. Thanks.
It's like the Darwin Awards runners-up medal.
Oh, it was great.
Oh,
And there was a couple times where at a couple different parties I was like, and here you go. Just here you go. Anyways,
Harsh, man, harsh.
Well, fair
it was
enough.
good. It was a good time. A lot of cool people there, and met some really epic fans. So hopefully someday I'll get out to Gamescom. Someday.
Talking
Someday.
Gamescom, that's pretty much what we had at Gamescom as well. Is we had a lot of people called it underwhelming. It was very much, wasn't as much hullabaloo as there was the past couple of years, and that's sort of the word that we've been getting out of PAX as well, as what you were saying. It's been a lot more mellow this year, not as much money flying around, and not as much kind of hype.
Well, to me, I think there's something behind that, but we'll get into that in a different show. Before we go and we start roasting the hell out of Mizpah and asking him the questions where we get some more information from him, I want to give people a heads up. We have some massive things coming, and I'm going to drop a little bit of it now so you guys know and so that you guys can be thinking about it, and then we'll give you some more at the end of the show. So to start off with, we're looking for feedback from you guys about our website. In fact, if you go to MMOBuff.TV right now, there's a little thing that you can click on various pages. Help us with the feedback, folks. We're going to be redesigning and restructuring it, but we want to make certain it's something you enjoy. So go forth and get involved. In fact, the people who get involved, you get entered into a swag bag draw. And the swag bag can include anything from games to codes to shirts, etc. But you have to get involved in order to actually be entered. So do keep that in mind. Number 2. We have a charity game jam coming up. More information will be coming about that. If you've ever wanted to get into game design, you're going to want to be aware of what's happening. And again, I'll have information for that towards the end of the show. Finally, if you have or are a fan of WildStar or Guild Wars 2, you are going to want to start getting your questions into us now. We are going to be doing a Convergence, our Friday show, live from EGX on the Twitch stand with ArenaNet. So get your questions in. Voice it at MMOBuff.TV. Now that we've gotten that little bit of news out of the way that is completely irrelevant to the show but still needed to be said, Mizpah, it is time for us to grill the hell out of you. Are you prepared?
I am. I'm ready to go. Can I leave now?
If you wish to leave, you can. We'd probably have a really good show if you did.
No.
Right. Okay.
As long as there isn't karaoke, we'll get through this fine.
No.
So that's how I stop awkward lines of questioning. Okay, I have that.
Well, that's not quite the result, but okay, you go with that.
If need be, I'll mute him. It'll be fine, guys. We'll have a successful show without Mizpah singing. All right. So, first question that we throw out to every guest that we have come on here. We want 2 truths, 1 lie from you. You will never reveal what the lie is or the truths are. It is completely up to us to try and figure out, but you are never going to tell anybody anything. So.
Okay. So 2 truths, 1 lie. You decide. So the first one. I enjoy swimming and diving with sharks. I've dived with over 20 types. I don't believe in using cages, scuba diving and free diving. And yes, I swim around with sharks, and I'm looking forward to free diving with a great white sometime.
That's what.
That's one. The second one. I once at Young Frau ended up acting as a stunt double in a film. It was a skiing scene, and I ended up skiing off this lip and ended up falling sort of a couple of stories into a huge airbag, which was kind of cool. And third one is I have an Inter-B race license, which means I'm lucky enough to have done some Rotax stuff and to have got to race at Spa at the Formula One circuit.
Excellent. Go ahead, Blank. What do you think he's lying about?
I know him, so I'm
I know.
pretty sure.
I'm sitting here going, I'm not certain if I should give my answer because I'm pretty certain I know which is the lie, and that's just kind of unfair considering how well I know the guy. So Ed, you figure it out. Blink and I'll sit here quietly. Go ahead, Ed.
Oh, sorry, is he figuring it? I can see the cogs turning in Blank's face there. I'm thinking, right, well, I need to figure this out. So what I'm thinking is, Miz, Jaws is or isn't it about a shark?
Jaws is a travesty, but that's another story entirely.
Yeah, but you've got to answer the question. Is or isn't it about a shark?
It's more about people's reactions to a threat.
No, it's about infidelity.
The threat's kind of irrelevant.
It's about infidelity. Have you not read the book?
Not read the book.
Right, so the
Saw
shark
film when
one's
it
a lie
first
then.
came out.
Man doesn't know anything about sharks.
Wow.
Your deducing skills are just off the chart. You should have been a detective. I think.
So,
Quit online stuff.
I just encapsulate this logic. Because I'm not into a plot line about infidelity in a film I may have seen when it first came out, I know
Says
nothing
the
about
man who
sharks.
dies with sharks. Yes, exactly. You know nothing about sharks.
Yep. It's got to be number one. I agree. Logic is sound. Strong. Very strong. Massively significant. I'm going to have to put my weight behind number one with you.
I'm not going to make a comment other than to state that if you happen to watch the ALS challenge here that Mizpah did, you will have seen his scuba gear. And I will not make too many comments about his ability to drive or the cars that I know that he has driven, because I'm not allowed to. And nor am I going to make any said mentions about anything involving skis. Let's just say I know what's real and what's not. And we'll leave it at that. Okay, so we've now roasted you.
I feel suitably roasted.
Next question for you. So with hindsight being 2020, you've been leading involved in communities for almost 10 years now. And we're curious about a decision that you've made in the entire life of your communities or whatever you've been involved in, where you look back at it now and you go, I know so much more, I would have done that differently. So looking back with your 2020 vision, what would you have done differently?
It's about specific. I can think of a couple of examples, and really it's the same root cause and root principle. And it's working out when to have the slightly harsher, less inclusive reaction. So you always try, at least I always try, we always try, pick your verb, to make decisions that are for the good of everybody. And sometimes you have to make decisions people don't like, but you try and include them in that decision-making process. It's actually very possible to do that a little bit too much. I'm always still going to, preach about finding smart solutions, compromising, so that people come along for the ride with you, and you can share in what you're trying to do. I'm not saying compromise what you're trying to do as a guild, but seek compromises with people. That's very, very different. However, there is a point in time where you have to say, you know what? I might like you, I might not like you, but you being here in this space is having a negative effect to too many people. And there's a couple of occasions we've let those circumstances drift on for too long while we try to fix them. And with 2020 hindsight, it's seeing a couple of times you've gone, actually, I'll be the nasty and just cut that situation off sooner than perhaps we did. And that's the one I'm going to take away. It's not about being nasty to people. It's not about going, hey, you're out the door. It's the smart thing is knowing when to do it, because it is needed, but it should be very, very, very rare. But when you do it, you can take too long to do it.
Okay, that's a really tough one, and we'll get into that in a moment or two.
Sorry, I just heard drifting on and then taking too long to do it.
That's pretty much sums up conversations with you, Ed. Yes, it should be very familiar for you.
Yep. That's what the shark said.
Wow, we're getting into sharks again. All right, last question for you, and then we're going to move into today's topic. So, what one moment in your guild/community's life to you has given you as an individual the greatest sense of accomplishment?
There's a couple that compete, but for me, it's going to be the one that kind of set the tone of the guild for nearly a decade. And it's going to be a fight against Hakar way back in the day. Now, the reason why this was so interesting is at the time we were still running around in Molten Core. There were people in other places, and we decided to go have a go at this particular boss, Twin Man Dungeon. a 20-man raid even. And people looked at us and went, some of you have still got green and blue gear on, or mostly blue gear, but some green, and you can't do this. This fight isn't for you. Go do this, this, and this first. You're doing it the wrong way. No, you don't do enough DPS. You can't do that. And we literally walked in there as a group, and people on the server laughed at us and went, not possible, don't even try it. And accepted wisdom was, don't do X until you've done A, B, and C. This simple idea of you have to do things in sequence. And we went, no, we think it's mathematically possible, we've run the numbers, we've looked at our strategy, there's no room for error, but if we execute it properly, we think we can do it. And so we went in there, and we died horribly. And we went back, and we died horribly. But we stuck at it. We had a group that had we're building a sense of community, going, we're going to come together to take on this challenge, and we're going to defeat it, irrespective of what people say. And people put the work in, people got a little bit stubborn about it, but everyone was kind of fighting for this common cause. We want this thing dead. And ultimately, we got there. And there's a moment, if you watch the replay video, very old now, where there's a lot of tension, there's some noise, there's me guild leading, and then all of a sudden everyone goes, come on, we can kill this, and things I can't repeat on here. And then it goes silent. And there's about 4 or 5 seconds of absolute silence before this huge cheer erupts from everyone in the raid. It was the realization of everyone telling us we can't do this. We've just done it. And that became the crucible, if you like, that the original core members of Enigma were forged in. And, we all came together. And from that point, the guild went from strength to strength to strength, because people had a level of sort of affinity, comradeship, shared experiences, trust, and proof that no matter what people thought, we could achieve whatever we put the effort in to achieve. And that set some of the principles of the guild for, nearly a decade.
Gotcha. Right, so now we have officially gotten some more information. Now it's time for us to actually get into the core segment of today's show. Thank you for being relatively prepared, Mizpah. I say relatively. I'm
always prepared. Apart from when I'm not.
So that's the thing. As a member of Enigma, I actually get the ability and the right to say it's all your fault and it be true. Yes. So it's one of the nice things about at least the guild that I'm in. But yes, okay, guys, we are now going to be moving into today's topic of transitioning goals. Now, we've talked about in previous campfires a lot of being goal-oriented being one of the most important things that you can do for your community. Because if your community doesn't have a goal, they kind of flounce around aimlessly, and it can make it very difficult to combine people and to build memories and friendships. And Ed is looking at me with this face.
I don't know that we actually ever pinned down that having goals and being goal orientated was one of the most important. I think we had settled on the fact that knowing your goals, which is slightly different.
Would you say that, though? If you know your goals,
because
you're goal-oriented. You can focus on those goals. No, not necessarily. If your goal is to be a social guild, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're a goal-orientated guild. Because if you're goal-orientated, you're going to be going and progressing towards something, achieving something, and having goals to transition towards, like we have in this show. But knowing your goals and knowing that your goal is to be a social guild and be inclusive doesn't necessarily mean you're goal-orientated. Blank.
Hold on. I had it muted.
Did someone get the truck number?
No, I was over here doing this thing, goal-oriented on something else, if you will. We just actually transitioned ourselves, and I guess I might kind of disagree with you, Ed. Like, just because you're not aware of where you want to go or whatever doesn't mean that you don't have a goal that you want to achieve. Like, people, what you're saying is people just mull around with nothing to do, like animals. Well, that's what it sounds like. And for me,
nope. Sorry, you did not listen to that properly. I said.
Or translation from haggis didn't make it into English.
Sorry, what was that about your other goals and your? Oh, I think your Pax brain. Right.
I'd like
let
to.
me
I'd like to hear
let me explain this slowly. Okay. Now,
or
Josie said that
effectively.
Brep, 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 brep. Computer. Just because Josie said that being goal orientated is one of the most important things that you can be. Now, what I said is that that's not necessarily true. Knowing your goals is important. If your goal is to be a social and inclusive guild, for example, that does not necessarily mean that you're a goal-orientated guild.
Oh, see,
Because if you're a
that is a goal.
goal-orientated guild,
You're still oriented towards the goal of having a social community.
in the sense that we have goals that you transition to, I don't see being a goal-orientated guild as being something that you have progression towards. I don't necessarily see that as the same as knowing your goals, but I guess that's something we would agree to disagree on.
What the hell are you even saying? Like, look, can we talk about transitioning goals and how that affects communities? Because I tried to listen to that, and what I heard was guild, transition, and not knowing. And to me, that was so crazy convoluted. I got lost every time you said guild and goals. I was like, I feel like, let's not talk about this like potentially casual whatever. Let's talk about transitioning goals and how their difficulties, their struggles. Let's talk about something like that. People that may or may not have goals, well, F them. How are we going to help them on the show if we're not talking about the tools they need? If you don't have goals, have a good time with your homies in TeamSpeak.
All right, before I unleash the blank, it's like unleashing
I feel like Blank's gonna like knock something over here.
I know. I'm expecting him to rage. He's like, oh, rage. Redditor is asking, what kind of goals are you talking about? The final one, for example, build the minds of Moria and MC, or short-term goals, win a round, get max level. The second is easy to replace. The reach is first off and ends the game, or to reach the first off and ends the game, ? Or did we miss some information? You have not missed any information. What we're about to do is actually unleash the gag we have on Mizpah and let him talk. Although I am expecting a, blowout here between Ed and Blank. That'll be great. Dude, we could do that for charity.
Now,
brings out the guns. Go ahead, Mizpah.
I'm going to start by saying I'm going to have to go and lay down later in shock, because I'm actually going to have to agree with one of the two people here.
Don't do it. Don't fucking do it.
And it's actually going to have to be with Screenager.
Oh, Mizpah.
Sorry, Screen.
I don't expect you to ever agree with me. I think that's written into your contract with MMOBuff. Never agree with pseudo.
So I think it's important to identify what sort of goals you're talking about. And we're going to talk about transitioning goals and, things like becoming a raiding guild if you're something else and and all this stuff later. But there's different sorts of goals. There are hard focused goals. Kill boss X. Very simple. The boss is either alive or the boss is dead. There isn't really a grey area as to whether or not the goal has been achieved. You've got another goal. Be welcoming to new members when they join. It's not a very hard goal in terms of you have a tick box, you can tick it. The line that if you're achieving it is not clearly drawn. So you have to work out if you're achieving it. Now, what I would throw in is something about the hierarchy of importance. Knowing your hierarchy of importance. Knowing, is it more important to you that you kill boss X, or is it more important to you that people are happy and they enjoy skipping down the street? None of this is being meant flippantly. I'm just trying to give really polarized examples. If you are focused on hard metrics, I'm going to say that you are goal-orientated, because you step towards those goals, you tick them off, and that's how you measure your success. If you are dealing with a lot of softer goals, and they are more important in your hierarchy, they have more importance in your hierarchy than a goal like get 200 members or kill boss X, then you're not necessarily as goal-orientated in the way that Screen is putting it forwards. You still need, though, to know what you're trying to achieve and why to even begin the thought process. Else you are just doing random stuff, and who knows what will happen.
Hey, everyone loves random stuff.
Does that solve the conundrum?
Go ahead, Blank.
I feel like we're talking down a little bit to people. We've discussed with folks, unless you're brand new, and I'm going to take it back a little here, goals are wonderful to have. You need them to move forward. They're a nice measure of success. They're a measure of forward progression. They can be social goals. They can be hard metrics like bosses. They can be, let's increase our social media presence. It could be a lot of different things. We're going to have to pick some of the more challenging things and talk about those as transitioning, whether we're talking about transitioning from a game, transitioning from a more casual entity to a hardcore entity within their gaming dynamic, transitioning from being a group of guys who play a first-person shooter to then being a sponsored group and that transitioning. That, I think, is really what I was honing in on, because there are a lot of places that we could discuss about transitions, the difficulties, the pros, the cons, and our experience. But I think we should try to hone on in what we think is the most important, or things that we learn ourselves, and give that back to the folks that are watching, because everybody here has been through a transition in one way or another, that our experience would speak volumes to folks who probably have never been through that, or signing a professional contract with somebody, or transitioning from one game to another. So,
all right. That's an easy enough thing. We can get into a massive debate later about how you decide whether you're goal-orientated or not, because, even social memberships can have things like, roleplay week and things like that they can use to measure success with. Metrics are subjective. Leave it at that. Bench it. Anyway, moving forward. So yes, let's talk first about one of the more difficult things that we've seen actually brought to us on this show from people who have brought to us campfire stories. Remember, guys, if you have stories you want us to tackle, get in touch with us, voice at MMOBuff.TV. We will happily tackle them. So one of the more difficult ones that we've had approach us was, we have a guild that wants to go from, we're a social structure, into a raiding structure. And we want to be successful at it. How do we do it, and how is it going to be accomplished, and what pitfalls can we overcome, or are we going to be expected to overcome? And we can start off there. Let's start off with what pitfalls you guys are aware of that happen from going from, say, a casual to a more focused PvE guild. Not PvP, because we'll get to that, because I'm going to totally make screen answer that one.
I think Mizpah's the one that has to answer that, then. Yeah, I think you need to start.
Okay, let's look at the risks to actually start with. First of all, you've already got a group of people who are gathered together to play a game. Therefore, they're sharing some commonality of ideas, of vision, of whatever else. I don't know how well in this example the vision and the focus has been shared. Is everyone got the same ideas? But if those ideas are changing, has everyone agreed with where you want to be? Because only half the people have gone, yeah, let's do this, and other people have gone, yeah, go ahead, but not really considered what it means. Oh, what, you mean you want me to stop my questing over here and come and join you because you've lost a member of the raid group? Well, no, I'm happy over here. What's the guild ethos going to be about it? Is it the fact that you're online, you're available to the guild, you should be in the raid group? Or is it that people can just do their own thing? So you need to decide, or understand, not decide, how many people in the group are sharing the new goals. To do that, you've got to define them. You've got to make them clear, you've got to communicate them, and you've got to get people to actually buy into them or state that they don't, as opposed to just play lip service to them. People not buying into those goals is actually fine if you've got the structure to deal with it. Right, you guys aren't interested in raiding, keep doing X, let's involve 10 more people. Your problem comes if they go, but we don't want 10 new faces in the guild. So you really do need to understand what goals people have got, where do they not line up but that doesn't matter, and where do they not line up and they actually clash. And the results of those clashes you need to think about in advance before they actually happen, else you're going to have a world of hurt. So you start off with working out what you want, then you communicate it to whatever your structure is, the people who are also involved in decision making in your structure. You get commonality of agreement in that group. The phrase "too many cooks spoil the broth," very, very true. The 500-person guild. Can you imagine a roundtable meeting where everyone wants to make 3 points and reply to someone else? The meeting's going to take 4.5 days. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen successfully, I should add. Forums are good. Other communication tools are good. Keep them private. Don't make them public, because these things will get heated. Distill the results, get an agreement, and once you've sampled enough opinions, state, this is what we're doing. If you don't like what we're doing, this is how you communicate it back to us. It sounds harsh, but it's the only way to kick off the process with any chance of success.
Anyone else?
Sure. Oh yeah. I will. I like to.
The accent comes out.
I like to really micro focus this down from both my experience and for those of you who may be in an organization that has to deal with this. Let's say you're a casual group of friends who eventually start growing because people know you in your server, whatever, and you go from 10 to 50, enough to raid, and there is a contingent of folks that want to do it in a hardcore manner. Exactly what Miz said. I'm going to take his tools. I'm going to sharpen just a couple little edges. Not only do you have the infrastructure there, and you distill what people want, but you have to put in place the expectations. Folks need to know if you're going to do this. This means that you're going. Some people in the hierarchy of your organization may change names. They may no longer just be an officer. They might be the hardcore raid leader. And their job and responsibilities are going to change. Along with that, it also means that folks are going to be responsible to show up on time. All those sort of things will then take a different light. You won't just be getting on every night, hanging out with buddies, putting together a group and doing it. No, those spots will then be vied for. There are 4 tanks. We only need 3. We need to recruit some people because we need to add a couple more ranged DPS, and this is the hard one, especially if you're new at doing the guild stuff. And hopefully this is why you're here, is you're checking this out. You're gonna have to let some people down and tell them, "I'm sorry," and I'm sure Josie will say this nicer than I will. You suck. We can't carry you. You're too big. You're too heavy. The rest of the shoulders cannot carry you. We love you to pieces, man, but you got to go back to the kiddie pool and do some stuff over here for us to continue what we're doing. And that is, if I'm going to put one thing into transitioning from casual to hardcore and to be successful and let your members accomplish things, you're going to learn how to be much nicer than what I just said and let people know, you messed up on this fight, you don't bring enough DPS, your stuff, you're not well informed enough on your rotations, whatever it may be, and to let them know that, hey, maybe you've got to go back to the B League, practice your stuff, and come back, and we're going to have to replace you. That was always my hardest thing, and that's what I want to share with you folks, is to have that in place. All the other stuff, logistics and all that, once you learn how to do it, that's good, but that little heartbreak when, you're friends with somebody and you got to be like, I'm sorry, dude, but you suck. We hang out every day, but your DPS is 2,000 under everyone else's. We got to replace you to be more successful. That's 30 more seconds of time off of a boss on a phase. Yeah. So,
well,
to jump.
on that. Hold on. Go ahead, Ed.
Thank you. What Miz has laid out is you need to have you need to initially sit down and have your goals, and you've got your initial process. And a lot of what Blank said is Blank said a lot about somewhat of the meeting the targets. What hasn't been covered to some extent is transition isn't just a start and an end goal. There is progress to that transition being complete. And to kind of take off what Blank has said somewhat, you want to plan that transition. It won't just happen in one jump. And while you might have people you want to let down, that doesn't necessarily mean that if you don't make your goal straight away that you're going to have to start kicking people. You need to understand how you're going to get from A to B and transition towards those goals. So you want to understand that not only do you want to have a final goal that you want to get to, you want to have some sort of progression or some sort of plan of progression to get to that goal. You want to understand how you're going to measure your progress towards those goals, be it measuring players in terms of their own metrics, be it anything in terms of things like raid attendance or DKP systems, or however you want to do it. You've got to understand how you're going to measure performance, and you're going to, of both your group as a whole and of individual players, rather than just assuming that you're just going to keep plowing forward until at some point you reach a breaking point and just go,
Well, see, I'm going to add
done,
one
you're
thing to
kicked.
this. One of the things that I think people tend to forget, and I know where Miss was going to go yet next, so I'm not going to tap on that. I'm going to let him play with that particular topic. But Blank Space brings up an incredibly good point. You know, there is something about being people person, and sometimes you learn the hard way that when you go to transition your goal, people don't necessarily match the new goal in mind. I want people to also understand that as much as I love you all, there are people out there who change the moment loot and shiny epics are involved and turn into some of the most atrocious, cruel, sadistic, and horrible people in the world. Yeah,
That's for all those people, because
but
it's
they
ridiculous.
happen. And this is something you may, for example, I had known somebody for 8.5 years. They were involved in a guild that I ran. I used to have dinner with them, with their child and their wife. I used to hang out with them outside of gaming, brought them into my guild. They got introduced to raiding, and they turned into a drama queen. Something after 8.5 years of knowing them, I never would have expected. I would have thought that they would have been a decent folk like they are when pixels aren't involved. But for some reason, when this person was presented with pixels that were of a purple variety, they turned into a dick. I very rarely have interactions with them now. Very rarely. And it has impacted not just my gaming style and the choices I make, but also my real life, because they were part of my circle of friends. So I hate to say it, but be prepared. If you transition a goal, you might learn the dark side of somebody, and it may not be a dark side that you like, because it won't have cookies. Just saying.
Do they have a plate, though?
Do they have a what?
Oh, God.
A plate.
No, the plate's a legendary.
They
drop. It hasn't hit yet.
It's fine, as long as they have a tray.
So you're transitioning from A to B. Stuff happens along the way. And you've got to work out how you're actually going to deal with that. And two things come to the fore. The first and the most important is your culture. And off the back of that is, do you have, and I'm going to argue that you should, do you have a culture of coaching and supporting people? So let's just say, let's really simplify for a minute. Okay, we're becoming a hardcore raiding guild in 3 weeks' time. All range DPS must do 2,000 DPS. You've got some new people in. You've got some old people around forever. A couple of the original founders of the guild only do 1,500 DPS on that bar for 2 weeks' time. What do you do? How do you handle it? How do you manage that bit of the transition? On one point, you've turned around and said, you must do this. And you're implying a level of personal responsibility. One assumes that people do what they need to do that. Go ruin your gear in WildStar terms. Go practice your rotations. Understand your class mechanics. Stop being a hunter and wielding a sword back in Vanilla WoW days.
Everything was hunter gear.
So what are you going to do? You should have a plan in advance for how you handle that situation. And you shouldn't wait until that day when people don't hit their targets. You should be sending in advance, oh, can I just see what you're doing on a target dummy? Or even better, get that information from their class sergeant, if you've got one, because they're doing it on a regular basis. And you have to decide, is your culture one where people have to be performative? They have to perform full stop. There's no discussion. You either do or you don't perform. That's one of the more hardcore environments. It can work well, but it usually means you are sacrificing social and other personality benefits of individuals purely for those that hit numbers.
One little distinction. One distinction, and we're good. There is a distinction I want to make here for you folks, and it is this: progression hardcore and hardcore. Progression hardcore is very different from hardcore. You can be hardcore in your approach. You can be a nightly guild, and that's wonderful. And this is where my elitism shows, and y'all can just deal with it. Progression hardcore on this side is we're taking breaks to pee every 3 hours. We're raiding for 9 hours tonight, so you got 3 chances to pee. Like, there's a very different thing. Those metrics, what Mizpah's talking about is this. I'm not going to call it. It's this hardcore where you've set up a schedule, you've got people that are responsible, but you're working with folks. Your approach is hardcore, but your mentality is not progression. It is not server first. It's not world first. It's not server first. The mentality is just to be hardcore in what you do. If you get a server first, that's awesome. You worked hard. Congratulations. But I think my distinction would be the preparation, the planning, and the dedication of time and resources is a big difference. Other than that, I'm on board with what you said for sure.
I think it's a scale, and to be honest, my view of having that culture of coaching and bringing people with you is once you've been through that transition, you're actually in an even better place than the guilds that just go, can you hit these numbers? Because you get people who are loyal, who are invested in you as a guild, and they can hit those numbers, and they've got one hell of a sense of personal responsibility along the way. And then you finally get more than your fair share of server and other firsts. It's a longer, slower, harder journey with better results.
Well, bearing in mind what you've just said and what Blank has said about the distinction, though, one, do you actually think it's a longer journey, bearing in mind bearing in mind the jump from, we're framing this conversation at the moment in a casual to a kind of hardcore goal-oriented perspective. Is it really? Because that, going back to what I said again about transition, that's a big jump to go from a casual perspective to a top-end hardcore perspective. Is it really? Is it framing? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying, though. Does it not make more sense when you're having a transition to have a progressive transition than to go, right, change is made, there we go?
I think, in all honesty, and I'm going to jump in with a bit of personal experience as someone who's taken a casual guild into a dedicated towards going after firsts on servers and things like that. When we decided to make the transition, it was a decision that we made because there were rumblings of, we actually want to be quote unquote progressive and hardcore. We want to put our time aside. We want to skip pee breaks and just pee in a bottle and just continue to raid the entire time. Love life. What is a love life? I'm sorry, I'm married to my character. I can't play, but I'll give you my account so that you can log in and make certain that we're still able to take that boss down. We had rumblings in the guild of people who wanted to accomplish that, and the only way to ensure the happiness of everybody involved was to make that transition. When we made the transition, a couple of things came very, very apparent. Some people are all talk, some people are all action, and some people have no flippin' idea what the difference is between the two. So we had people who were like, yes, you should already have the entire framework and everything set up so that we can just start raiding tomorrow and off we go, and we should be there Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're leaving Wednesday off because some people have to take their kids to school or whatever. It was one of those really weird transitional things. What ended up happening, though, was we lost people in the transition. Not because we didn't have the structure in place, but because they had a completely different idea on how they wanted loot handled. They also had a completely different idea on how often they wanted to raid. And they also had a completely different idea as to which character class they should be bringing in and what role they should be playing. So I want to throw out there for people who are going to go through any kind of transition with anything, it makes a difference whether you've decided to just stop completely raiding and just go casual. It makes a difference whether you've decided to go from, hey, we're just this little guy shooting people in an FPS and all of a sudden somebody wants to sponsor us. There's going to be really big personality changes, and all of the weight will usually sit on the person who's in charge. And everyone's going to yell at the person who's in charge because you should have had it organized. Take what Ed has said, take what Blank has said, take what Miz has said, plan it out and do it in a realistic manner. Do not expect to overnight be hitting world firsts, because if you are insane and completely unrealistic.
I think something that Josie said just highlighted something that we do need to quickly say. What you said something about having structures in place. What we've talked about it from the view of I'm going to say it from a guild leader down perspective, kind of managing a community, we've not really focused on the fact that you need to have your end sorted as well, and that's a transition, that's a progressive thing as well. It's going to take you time to put your own systems in place, to put your structures in place, be it spreadsheets, be it DKP, what other stuff we've talked about. You're not going to be able to get that done overnight, and you need to plan your own administration in the background as well.
I'd throw something that's really important and not we've been alluded to but not strongly highlighted. If you are making a change, you need other people on the ground, in the mid-tier, in the senior, at every step, who know about it, understand it, and support it before you start doing it. Do not wait till you're halfway on a journey and go, hey, who wants to come with me? At least get a core group that all know what you're trying to achieve, even if you're having to work out some of the details of how along the way. Because whatever your plan is, it will change. You will almost certainly lose people.
Sorry, I wasn't laughing at you.
Apparently that's funny.
No.
It's not funny.
Hopefully you get to pick the people you lose.
No, the Twitter I just saw about someone saying that they stopped wearing watches when they became a midwife, bare below the elbow and all that, in response to the current footy stream. It's what made me laugh. Sorry.
And I'll leave you with not leave you, but one more thing to put into that mix as well. If you are making a change, though, stuff is changing in the guild. That might be attitude, that might be atmosphere, that might be rules, that might be stuff. But take a look at what you've got on the day before you start the change. Work out why it is you're in this same group before you decide you want to change. Because there'll be some gems there that you're going to want to keep. Else you probably wouldn't bother changing the organization you're with. You'd just join a new one that's already where you want to be. So identify what it is that's good about where you are, because that'll help you work out what are you not prepared to compromise on. We've been through some changes recently in Enigma, and there's some stuff to do with our ethos that we are not prepared to compromise on. And we want to get to X, and we're busy doing it in WildStar at the moment. It would be slightly easier if we took choice Y, but we're not going to do it because it'll mean compromising on something we're not prepared to compromise on. Core values last a long time. You can keep an ethos, but change what you're doing.
Yep. Culture is something that you can transition with. Don't think that just because you're making a transition from one type of guild to another or one type of community to another, for example, adding a new game to your repertoire and going from guild to community, you don't have to lose your culture. You really don't. But I couldn't agree more with that. Know what you're willing to sacrifice. What are you willing to sacrifice, Blank, besides peeing in a bottle to level an Arcage?
Oh, that's just preparation, but yeah, sleep. I won't be sleeping. I will be hiring a very expensive in-house chiropractor to come here. So every time I do one of these streams, it costs me a crap ton of money till I'm max level, because every day I have to be adjusted, because otherwise I can't sit in this flipping chair all day, even with the brand new chair that I got. Thanks, guys. It's still not, healthy for me to do that. So sleep, you have to prepare. Like right now, the reason that I've just been relaxing is Arcage comes out and there's 4 days to get to max level, and I want to be doing all these sort of things. That means pre-cooking food. That means having people bring me food. That means, pee breaks being done in Gatorade bottles underneath here while I mute my stream and turn my thing off, so I don't want anybody to see me while I'm peeing on the stream. Like, there's, stuff that you have to do. But that's nothing from my past, man. Before streaming was a thing, hardcore, and I've shared this before, and I don't think anybody should do this, just by the way. There's a warning. I'm literally saying, like, don't do this. This is terrible. This was an experience I had. I don't recommend anybody doing it. But in Wrath of the Lich King, Surfer Shaman was something that I just needed. I was like, it had to be a thing. So between amphetamines, energy drinks, having my current girlfriend slap me in the face, or peeing right there, having her do stuff while I went to the bathroom to take a shot. Like, she like would like move me to my next quest while I went to the bathroom and then like ran back to my desk. It was crazy. People have done stuff like that, and I mean we've even seen people. Anyways, I digress. Don't do unhealthy things, and if you ever actually want some advice on how to power game healthily, just hit me up and let me know, because I do actually teach people how to game effectively as healthy as you're possibly going to do something that's unhealthy as F for you. So
I will state, if you are interested in this, guys, get in touch in Twitter. Follow Healthy Gamer. This is a massive thing that the Viking Nation and Blank have been trying to push forward, and there's a lot of people involved in it. Do so. We've had a couple of comments, and I'm going to tackle them really quickly, and then we're going to go to final thoughts and things like that. So to start off with, Rediner has pointed out that should be the goal of the guild in any game and with any play. Still, guilds exist to bring players together. The guild structure depends on the personal players still, if you're Group A, Group B. If the group doesn't want to master their play at the group, their play still at the group, they're as good as a random group. And Jay sort of remarked to that, just remember different people have different priorities. And this is the thing. We have had a discussion on this show before in the past, and I want to leave this as part of the closing part with transitioning. There are some people out there who are willing to not know the people they are playing with beyond just, can you push the DPS? Can you hold the aggro? Can you heal like a bitch? And that's all they care about. They don't care about somebody's first name or somebody's second name or anything else. Hold on, what?
Can we? All right.
Oh, hold on one second. But there are people who like that kind of play style, and there is nothing wrong with that. In fact, it is something that we try to stress here is we all see communities in a different light. We all want a particular thing from our own communities, which is why we're all in different communities and in different guilds. In the end, know what you want to play like. It's something we stress to players. Know the type of play style you want, the type of ethics, and the type of, what you're willing to put into a community, and go looking for it. Don't settle till you find it. Worst comes to worst, build your own, but understand there is a lot of work involved in that. But we need those types of guilds out there. We need those types of communities out there. We need those type of competitive players out there. It's what drives the community of gamers. And in all honesty, I take my hat off to the people who can sit there and forego, getting up and taking care of themselves to play a game. I would never do that because my health means more to me than that. But there are people out there, and I just take my hat off to them. I mean, Blank, you're absolutely insane, completely and utterly insane. But this is the thing. We know for a fact that in your life, you've changed. You went from being destructive player to healthy gamer player. And that is a massive transition that you have made. And for that, I am thankful, because the world would be a horrible place without the real Blank Space. It would also really suck if I didn't have the screen here either. Sucky world. All right. I will let you get your piece in, Blank, about that you would like to say. Then I'm going to get closing comments from everybody. And then I'm going to let you guys know some fantastic news, in case you missed it.
What I good, but there are, and I've really tried to focus on this because my experience is a lot different than these folks here. I don't want to say you guys are MMO purely focused, but I've come from other markets, other genres, and I've seen some of them in different lights. What I will say, there are people that are hardcore oriented. Like, I've been on FPS groups where it doesn't matter. Nobody gives a crap about your name. Nobody gives a crap about your day. If you're late, it's not like, oh man, we're sorry your girlfriend broke up. It's like, we don't give a crap, you're benched. You're not playing, just out of principle. And there are guilds. It was funny, because I wanted to disagree with Mizpah earlier. He was talking about the hardcore folks. When you're at the top of your server, when you're the top leaderboards, nobody gives a crap. Like, you make friends, Like I had a buddy who I actually ended up finding out worked at Blizzard. I would follow his mage and go AFK, and then he would follow, my rogue and go AFK like that. We would follow each other so we could have little breaks. But other than him, like everyone else, there was no reason. We were competing. We were a team. If you want to put it into sports, like we were a team with a goal of winning the World Series for whatever we were doing, and it didn't matter that you were sore, you're on the disabled list or something. Nobody cared. You do your job, you do it well, or we will find there are other farm guilds out there that are second, third, fourth, fifth on the server, or out in the forums. We'll drag other people in here. We don't give a crap about your name. We don't give a crap about your day. Your character needs to be outside 15 minutes before. You need to be ready to go. And there's nothing wrong with those communities. I've been a part of them. I actually still enjoy playing to that sort of extent in game releases and things like that. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't just giving you that soft, the casual, the hardcore, and then that progress. There's nothing wrong with having either end of that spectrum, and having experienced all of them, one's a little bit more stressful, one is a lot more stressful, and hopefully the kind of community that you build is able to kind of allow both.
And as Blank will tell you, it's the casual roleplay guilds that are the most stressful.
The hardcore roleplay guilds. They're
the hardcore
crazy.
Roleplay guilds are.
Dude,
there are some insane ones
you'll
out
be
there.
in character 15 minutes before the scene starts.
Oh, dude! Like, if you are out of character on the forums or when typing in chat, I've read this. I wish I still had this. I was looking at different guilds, and one of them was like a role-playing guild, and their rules. I have written stuff for organizations I've been a part of. They were like the most hardcore thing ever. Like, if you burp and don't say "excuse me" in the right way while in TeamSpeak, we're gonna kick you out because you're not in. I was just like, this is crazy. Like, is this real? Are you guys like fucking with people? And they were like, no, these are the way that we take our role playing very seriously. And I'm like, do you guys like this? Like, you kick people out, and because that, anyways, it just that shit blows my mind. Man,
well, see, that's a funny thing, because the hardcore role player is going to turn around, look at the whole concept of you need to pee in a bottle under your desk and not take breaks while you're leveling or raiding, and look at you and go, that's just insane.
Well, listen, what if they're in the middle of a crazy roleplay session? Oh, my kid's talking to me. Sorry, kid, I'm about to marry Princess Abu Dhabi here, and if I don't keep typing or doing whatever, they're going to kick me out of my heart. Dude, it's a thing, I'm telling you. It was so crazy. I wish I had saved that stuff.
Let's throw in there, though. We earlier said, hey, hardcore guild, loads of progress, this mentality, don't care what your name is. I'm going to point out that's a stereotype. It does happen. It is real, but it's not the only thing that happens.
No.
I'm going to strongly argue that you can be just as competitive, just as successful, and actually do give a crap about the people around you. It's a longer, harder journey to walk, but it's one that's well worth walking.
Well, I think it's worth mentioning as well that when you spend enough time with people, you do tend to pick up little idiosyncrasies from them. I mean, there are some big guilds out there that are known for world firsts, and they still get together for barbecues. So don't think, and that's not in a role play sense. They're not just getting together to barbecue and role play. No, they get together and hang out and do their own things outside of game as well. Oh, wow!
I'm pretending to eat. There's your role play.
If all you have is pretend food, Blank, we're going to invite you over on the 7th of November for the 9th anniversary shindig. There'll be a load of people here, and I'll be upset if you don't come in the flesh. There you go. You can't just eat pretend chicken all the time.
So are you trying to get him to? Are you trying to keep him away? Is that it?
Just pretend chicken.
All right, so your final thoughts, Mizpah, on transitioning goals.
Know what you're trying to achieve, but also know where you are now. Know what's good about where you are now, what you aren't prepared to throw away. Have a list of importances, what's most and least important to you. As you have to make choices along that journey, check back to that list. While you're transitioning, keep communicating. Reassess. Do we still want to get to where we thought we wanted to get to? You might be halfway along that journey and go, hey, we like where we are. That is fine. Communicate. Keep communicating. Make smart choices. Expect to lose people. And have plan B, plan C, and plan D in your back pocket.
Screenager?
Basically, a lot of what Miz said has a point. What I'd like to say is that we framed this conversation very much in the context of moving from casual to hardcore. Don't assume that transitioning just means that. Transitioning can be changing goals towards downing a different boss, or meeting a different rank in PvP, or moving from hardcore to casual. What Miz has said applies equally as validly to moving in different directions. It's not just about the context we've spoken about today, so understand that.
Blank?
You guys kind of hit most of what I had to say. Make sure you've got the infrastructure in place. Know what your goals are. Don't be some people are like, we want to do this, and give them time to grow. If doesn't matter what direction you're moving, wherever you're going, make sure that you have the patience and the time and the ability to adjust to whatever happens, because you can plan for stuff all day. It's one of the sayings in the military. You can have the best plans, but as soon as that first bullet or something happens, as soon as movement begins, the whole plan goes to shit. So give it time. Give it time to grow into what it is, and be willing to adapt to be able to accomplish your goals. You don't have enough people, recruit more. People don't like it, tell them to bring their friends in, tell them not to suck so that they can carry. Whatever it may be for your folks. That's the important part. So.
The last thing I'll add to this is the fact that if you're looking to do any kind of transition, set time aside for it. Don't expect this to be something you can put together in 5 minutes. Literally put time aside. Accept the fact that if you're going to do this in a leadership position, it is basically like a second job. If you want to do it well.
And just to make a point, exactly what you're saying, Suda, if you're managing a change, you are probably spending more time out of game than in game.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. Right, so we have a couple of things that we're going to make mention of. I'm going to let Ed talk about convergence.
I get to talk.
I know, it's been one of those shows where unfortunately you've gotten a chance to be really quiet and just talk in the chat instead of,
Honestly, it's been all this role-playing PvE, downing PvE bosses nonsense. I'm just kind of sitting here going, I was going to get a chance to talk about PvP guilds, but nah, you couldn't shut Miz up.
Never can.
Yes, you can. It's called the mute button.
Woo! Well, just so any of you that don't already know, MMOBuff has launched a new Friday night show called Convergence. We have moved away from our format of having Cosmotronic on a Friday night. We're now running a show that focuses on a number of NCSoft games. NCSoft published both Guild Wars 2 and Wildstar. We launched last week. The show should be up on YouTube, I believe, is it? Mm-hmm. At the moment, for you to watch an extra long show hitting both Guild Wars 2 and Wildstar. We are going to be focusing on Guild Wars 2 this coming Friday. We're going to have a ton of Guild Wars 2 swag to give away, including Llama mini pets. Wow, he's that unimpressed. We're also after that going to be running fortnightly, a focus on each show. So this week it'll be Guild Wars, next week Wildstar, and the week after that there'll be a focus on Guild Wars. What I need to let you all know about as well is that our second Guild Wars focus show on the 25th, the Friday the 25th of September, I believe it is going to be live at Eurogamer. So not this Friday, but Sorry?
It's going to be 2 hours early.
Yes, it is. It's going to be at Eurogamer. It's going to be live at Eurogamer. It's going to be 2 hours early, and we're going to have representatives from ArenaNet. So we're going to have developers from Guild Wars 2 live at Eurogamer Expo in London 3 weeks from now. Yep. So we're also going to ask you to give us any questions that you have for them. We're going to have swag to give away, and we hope that we see you there.
Absolutely. Get your questions to us, voice at MMOBuff.TV, if you want to type that into the chat right now. You can also get in touch to us through Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Google+, a variety of places, including a Nook. Don't hesitate to find us, MMOBuff. We're pretty much all over the place. We will be giving away Wildstar swag. We will be also giving away Guild Wars swag from the expo as well. It is going to be massive. Now, here's the kicker. The kicker for me is, depending upon the questions you bring to us, depends on which one of the developers we subtly put into a potato sack, and kidnap for this interview process. They don't know we're doing it. We're just going to do it. So we're going to walk by and we're going to throw somebody into a bag and bring them over to the Twitch stand and broadcast live from there. And Yeah.
It's we'll pass it off as a traditional British welcoming.
Yes.
Put you in a
Exactly.
potato sack and give you a kicking.
Yeah.
That'll do.
That's Scottish, but we'll go with it for certain. So,
It's Irish.
how is that Irish?
When do you lot, right? I'm done with this. What?
No.
When do you lot think that the whole Scottish potato thing?
No.
If you're going to use racial stereotyping,
I'm talking
go
about
with it.
simple violence here, Ed. That is
Oh
very
yeah,
Scottish.
okay, that's fine. That's Scottish, yeah.
Hello, obviously. All right, so there's that awesome news. So keep that in mind. Now, for those of you who are interested in game development, our game jam is coming up. In fact, we've picked the dates for the game jam. This Thursday, during the data mine, when we have Patrick coming to talk a bit more about art in game design and game development, we're going to hit you with what you need to know, how to get involved, who all is involved, and yes, believe me, I'm still chasing down a couple of companies to see if they want to bring their own dev team in for a 48-hour game jam. Understand, though, that if you are looking to get involved in this game jam, you better have the skills. I am not going to let anybody into this game jam who does not have experience with either some kind of game engine, some kind of art tools, some kind of music tools. You need to have some skills. We're giving you... You need the tools. You need to pay attention.
I have a screwdriver.
That will not work.
Your screwdriver has no blade.
It's Scottish. Anyway, if you are wanting to get involved in this game jam, start practicing now. Start now. Because otherwise, I can't let you work with people like Adam from Fortress Craft Evolved. I can't let you work with people like Danny from Just a Pixel. I can't let you work with people like Chris from 19 Stone Ninja. I can't even let you work with the potential Twitch team that's coming up. So keep that in mind, folks. Now's the time to start practicing. Now, any other last bits and pieces besides we want your feedback on our website, so please go get involved. We will be giving away stuff to people who actually give us feedback. And yes,
does that include questions for the Guild Wars devs?
If people give us questions for the Guild Wars devs, we will give you a gift if you succeed in winning a draw. I can't just say everybody gets it because some people might send us, what's your favorite color? Not a good enough question, people. Not here, not on this show. But yes, so as it comes up to the pretty much ending of our show, we have one thing we have to say. Cameron wants you to sing for him, Mizpah.
Bananas. No. The
audience is asking.
Way back many centuries ago, not long after Screenage began, he was streaming on the MMOBuff show. It's much easier than talking into a can.
I don't know.
Screenager, he likes to PvP. Sometimes he talks about other things too. Screenager, he likes to PvP. And sometimes he does things with a sock that he shouldn't do.
Yeah.
There you go.
And that is pretty much a guaranteed way to have our show fail. Nah, but don't worry.
That was spontaneous.
To be fair, that was on the spot. That was spontaneous. I take my hat off to you. And Cameron, see, we do pay attention. Also, for you, Redonner, who is new to us, welcome. Hopefully you've enjoyed what you like here. We have shows every single day of the week, except for the weekends. That's when some of us who work a lot try to take breaks. Yes, Aussie, I know that exact tone that you just took, and believe me, it's up there along with boss. It's just one of those things like, okay, boss, I see what you're doing there. Because he's the guild leader of my guild.
Boss.
Hey, it's Bieber Believer again. Hey, welcome. All right, as a reminder, folks, for a while, this show is going to be on an hour earlier as we sort out things with timings. Do be aware clocks are changing soon. We will be remaining at 8 p.m. UK time. This, however, may impact you. So if you happen to be watching from the United States, we, I think, send our clocks earlier than you guys do, and then everything will be back together again. So please be aware of that. Also, we have had a request for MMOBuff t-shirts. Patience. That's all I'm going to say, because I have something planned for that. And it will be rather big and awesome. But
Extra large t-shirts.
well, we can get our hands on 3Xs.
Triple
and,
XL.
we can actually get 5X
I need a small.
down, actually. But yes, I look like a soccer mom apparently, according to Beaver Believer. That's awesome. Does that mean I get a car? I want a car.
Do the cats count as children?
I have 2 dogs and a cat, and a very weird husband who is looking at me, going, "What is wrong with you, woman?" But yes, we will get MMO T-shirts. My goodness. Do not worry, Radonner. We still appreciate you showing up. It can be very difficult across languages. It's something we do understand. But the fact that you've hung around with us and had some very insightful feedback, I'm just going to say you automatically win the cake, because the cake is not a lie. I don't care what anybody says. I've seen it. I've tasted it. It was good.
You had a tray.
I did.
But it's still not cheese.
No.
I think we're reading from entirely different books.
You read?
Apparently so. There's writing on this. You wouldn't believe it.
I am so
That
proud of
doesn't
you.
mean he reads it. It just means he's carrying around a pad with writing on to look more important.
Shh, just because I beat someone up for it.
Yes, unfortunately, Beaver Believer, you've missed our show today. Hey, pay attention to Twitter, my man. You'll see it there. We were an hour early today, and every Tuesday we'll be an hour early for a bit until we get things sorted. And hello, Zabias. Yes, yes. Primula for Mizpah. You guys have just seen the ultimate reaction. You ever want to get on Mizpah's nerves? Mention Primula.
Really?
Oh, yes. Primula is a cheese. Wouldn't you agree, Ed?
It's a cheese.
It's not a cheese.
You're going to say string cheese isn't cheese next?
He firmly believes that Primula was put on this planet to mind control the population.
What about the one with little bits of ham in it? How can you say it's got bacon? Or it's at least so. No hope for you, man.
I'm telling
No
you,
hope.
it is the quickest way to get Mizpah to shut up. Just bring up Primula. He hates it. I have now given out your kryptonite. I will give you
That
the
is
opportunity.
so not fair.
I give you the opportunity to give out my kryptonite. What's my kryptonite, Mizpah?
Other than the reaction when absinthe is involved?
Hey, I love me my absinthe. I really do. I'm the one who got you into it.
I
I'm
know.
all like, let me show you how to properly lose shit and everything. It's got to be cloudy or it's not a real thing. Ah, man. But yes, I'm sorry, Bieber, it's over. And Zabias,
Apparently,
massive love to you for that.
and I've just discovered, apparently I always read from an auto cue.
No, he doesn't. I hate to say it. No one bloody believes me until you meet him in person. The way Mizpah sounds on shows is how he sounds in real
This is me.
life.
I'm afraid I sound like this.
Now you guys should have a little bit of sympathy for me, maybe.
Sympathy, or you can simply recount how lucky Pseudo is to have the dulcet tones constantly assailing her eardrums. Or something like that.
Where is that condom? Where is that condom? Blank! Blank, come back! I know. I'm sorry, Ed. I'm sorry.
Done. We're out. Mez, you killed it. We're out. We're done.
Tiddle pip, everybody. I will.
Bye.
Mizpah's doing the Blizzard forecast tomorrow night. Do you want to tell anybody what you're doing?
No, it's a secret.
It's a sacred. Okay.
It's a secret.
Anyway, I will
We
see.
may be streaming something, but the server may not be online, so we're waiting to find something out at this moment in time.
Yes, fair enough. Remember, though, I will see you guys live at 1 p.m. on Thursday here with Chris and Adam and Patrick. This week, it's massive. We're announcing the Game Jam officially. Toodle pip, guys.
Bye.
Bye, kitty. Oh, look at the kitty. Amy. Hi. Carrie, tonight. Priority. Other things first.
Nothing takes priority over karaoke night.
Yeah, it does. You and me, man. Anyway, good night, everybody.